I have two players here. One is the habit machine and one is the user. Then I have three different stages where the user goes through to reach their actual goal they want to achieve. So guys, Jonas from the future here. I completely messed up the shooting of the how might we question and the map. So I just have these how might we questions I wrote when I did the actual exercise here, and I just gonna walk you through it and tell you what I was thinking when I was writing these. So with these how might we questions, I want to find things I really need to work on. So I had this idea of building a habit thing, but I didn't really knew what the problems were I need to solve with that, or what I want to solve in this first design sprint I'm doing for myself now. And so I came up with some of these. These are not all. Some of them I just threw away. They were just the ones they're very like useless and not meaningful to me right now, and I don't really need them now in this moment or now in the stage of the sprint. So my top voted how might we were how might we get people to stick to their habits. How might we convince people to set meaningful long-term goals and follow them? And how might we show people what the value of habits are, or what the value is? I chose these because I felt like these were the biggest problems people have to not stick to their habits. So when they actually... So of course the first one is very basic, because people don't stick to their habits, and I'm asking myself, how do I get people to stick to their habits? And that's just a thing I need to find out, right? I feel like a rapper now, and I need to find out, right? And then what might be more or better is how might we convince people to set long-term goals and actual meaningful long-term goals, so they are more likely to stick to their habits, and then of course show people what the value of habits are. I can't tell you exactly now how I came up with this voting, but these were from this point where when I did this exercise the biggest questions I had in my mind, and these are also the thing I really want to work on. While I voted for these how might we's, so I just drew some red dots on there. I also have some questions what might be for long term and for R. I don't know exactly what that meant or what it means. I have actually no clue. But long term I want to focus on so how might we create an experience so people keep using the app after building their habits, and how might we make the habit machine, that's the name, and go-to place for success. So this is really a long-term thought, and I wanted to keep these to always remember myself of some questions I want to, still some questions I want to answer. And I have these how might we's with how might we make it easy for people to track their habits on a daily basis, and how would we find out what would people I think encourage to start building habits. So these might be just some basic things, and they might relate to those, but yeah. So that's the how might we's, and I'm now showing you what I did when I did the map exercise. And what I actually did here was just a small customer journey map. So I have two players here. One is the habit machine and one is the user. Then I have three different stages where the user goes through to reach their actual goal they want to achieve. And I started just with a blank page and noting down the user and the goal they want to achieve. So I just need to fill out the blanks here and thought about some things, how they might discover the app and learn about it and then actually use it. So here, for example, when the user discovers the app, they might discover it by, I don't know, seeing a YouTube video from an influencer, seeing a Facebook ad, Instagram ad, word of mouth from a friend, for example, Instagram success pages, what is more like an Instagram influencer, maybe through an App Store search or a Google search, for example, how do I stick to habits? And I'm like, here's my app. And then they actually learn about the landing page, so why they need it, what it does, how it works, or they watch a YouTube video from this influencer, for example, or they just read in the App Store the description and check these small images that are always there. And then when they actually use the app, they set up goals, set habits, and then they follow their habits. So the use part is very, very small. I really just need to focus more on the actual onboarding, I think, so that they know how to stick to habits and not how to set up habits, right? Or maybe set up a system for habits to stick to them. But that's then the part, this whole setup part. And then they are able to follow their habits and build, and then they buy premium services and then they use it for habit tracking, obviously. And one thing, while I did this map, one thing that came to my mind was we could support them maybe when they bought this premium service, that we actually support them as a company, as a support service, habit service, whatever, to set their goals and set up their habits. So it's more like an online course, or maybe not an online course, but just a support for getting it right. When you're not willing to spend like that much energy on understanding how everything works, and just by reading it, for example, of course the app should do that from like a baseline. But if you still have problems or so, we are then there to support you. And we are then there to help you with setting up goals, setting your habit routine right, and so on. So then you can actually set up habits and follow your habits and stick to them. That's the most important part. So that's about the map. And in the next episode, I will write some long-term goals and some can we questions. So a long-term goal to just have a very basic vision I want to follow, and so with this actual startup I want to follow, and writing can we questions for the sprint, what I want to answer when doing the prototype. So for example, can I convince a user just by showing them the landing page that habits are very important for your life to be successful, for example. And that might be a can we question. I recorded this part, I did not fuck it up. So enjoy and see you in the next episode. Goodbye. This is just my foot here. Very interesting, right? And I also want to define like with what we want to start, because I'm really thinking about like getting people into habits, or starting with the target group of people who are already able to use or like stick to habits, but just need to track them, right?